Dear audience, it's an uneasy time to start the speech because it's too late to say good morning and it's too early to say good afternoon. So I will just say hi. And first of all, I would like to correct one mistake that actually there are two Milrem companies in Estonia. That's not confusing at all, of course. So one company, Milrem LCM, is focused on the MRO or maintenance and repair services, and another company, Milrem Robotics, is all about the robotic stuff. And that's me. That's the company I'm representing now. But moving on from there, when I was invited to speak on this event on military topic, when I tried to define that, what would be my message or what is my role here, why am I here? And when I looked at my notes from some years ago, 2 years ago in Taiwan, I was more explaining that autonomous functions in the military field are possible. Today I feel that maybe my role here is to, in a sense, break the myths. The myth that the defense industry is bunch of trigger-happy lunatics who want to bring killer robots on the battlefield. No, we are not. And to start with that, I will start with short video, which will give certain context. So, my question is not yet are we on the same page, but my question to the audience is how many killer robots did you see in the video? Can anybody answer? Correct. None. Zero. And why I say that? This is now where I ask, are we on the same page? What does the autonomous actually mean? When we are speaking about the autonomous cars, none of us imagines that the car will make the decision where we want to go. We all know that, okay, it doesn't have driver, but still we are in charge. We choose which is the location. Why should we consider that in defense it's any different? So what is important difference actually is that we shouldn't talk about the autonomous operations, but we should talk about the autonomous functions. And if you now start to think about this video, what we just watched, then what kind of functions we saw? We saw the function of mission planning. Most probably, this is something which will be done by humans anyway. As we don't trust or we don't give the freedom of choosing the location to the autonomous car, we don't give freedom to choose the missions to the autonomous systems in the defense. Route planning. Well, what is bad with that? We are happy that Google Maps is guiding us through the unknown cities. So, of course, it's okay if the autonomous functions can define which is the best route from point A to point B. Obviously, in the off-roads, in the forest area, it's much more complex and much more complicated than on the streets, but in the basics, it's the same. Mobility. That's simple. That's just the function that the vehicle can drive on its own and make the decisions either to pass the obstacle from right or left on its own. Once again, off-road more difficult than the urban area, but basics is the same. Information gathering and data fusion. Well, this is especially something which we happily give to the software, to the autonomous functions, because, well, this is something where computers can be much more precise and much more efficient than humans ever can be. Information processing, we do it every day. Our computers do information processing for us. Target detection, once again, related to the information gathering and data fusion. Target identification, well, now it gets tricky. And this is the part where certainly the confirmation always and ever in Western civilization will stay at the human's hand. So there will always be human, not on the loop, but in the loop, who will make the decision either it's right target or not. Decision making, same, always human in the loop. And fire, always human in the loop. So if I'm speaking that, when I'm speaking, I believe that I speak on behalf of the defense industry in Europe and in Northern America and all the countries which share our cultural understanding and our ethics. So that's a question of ethics. But coming back to the initial question, that if we don't think that autonomous car will take over and drive us somewhere we don't want to go, then why should we think that in defense it's any different? But eventually, why do we need? Why even bother? Why do we need the autonomous functions or autonomy on the battlefield? First of all, very simple rule. Dull, dirty, and dangerous tasks should be handled by robots. Well, we want that our warfighters can be in safety. We don't want them to lose their health or lose their lives. That's, I think, our everybody's wish, and we always would like to give the technology which keeps it like that. So I would say that certain autonomous applications or certain autonomous functions in the military applications are quite unavoidable. If we talk about the physical load, then obviously the last mile logistics delivered by the autonomous cargo trucks or cargo small vehicles, well, that's a future. That's something which we are going to see anyway. Reducing the cognitive load. That means that we don't want to put our warfighters into the imminent threat, but we want to keep them in the safety, which allows them to make the decisions in better manners as well. And this all has nothing to do with giving the decision making to any computers. So, what is a quite specific thing about militaries all around the world? I would like to say that it's common in everywhere. Those people are very much focused on the control. They like to control things. So, for sure, nobody intends or wants to give a full control to the autonomous systems. And what we still have to keep in mind, that we don't develop the technologies to fight the wars, but we develop technologies to prevent ones. Now, next question, which is quite interesting, is that who sits behind the wheel? And if you look at the development and the funds used for the developments as well, then it's clear that autonomous and AI development is clearly directed by the commercial and civil markets. If you look at the amount of money and investments made into the development of driverless cars, then that's tremendous. If you look at the technology development and technology changing in the commercial market, then that's very rapid. And I would say that military is hardly even on the side seat. So if you talk about the development of the autonomy and autonomous functions, then we shouldn't be so worried about what's the military guys are doing. They are doing some sneaky stuff. No. Basically, military and defense industry today is using and utilizing, trying to utilize the technologies what commercial world is developing anyway. So, the question is the real danger, so to say, Terminator scenario on the battlefield, or driverless cars and smart houses, let's call it Resident Evil scenario? So what is the real danger? Where the technology takes more and more decision-making and responsibility. And not even answering to that question, should we ban any AI and autonomy development, and most importantly, does it help? If we ban anything, does it stop the technology development? If you look back to the history, do we know any technology development which is stopped due to the fact that there is a group of people who don't like that? I like to believe that the technology development and the innovation is something which is unstoppable, because next generations are always more prone to the new technologies. So if we think about our childhood, when 386 Pentium or Pentium computers, they were very good computers, and we like to play with them on the similar remotes which had buttons actually. Today, if I look at my 4-year-old daughter when she's playing on the smartphone without any buttons, I can't understand how can she do that. I don't like it. But that's the change of generations. New generations always are prone to new technologies. And I believe that the educated decisions, and sometimes even educated guesses, are the only ways how to implement disruptive technologies, because we can't predict what is the result of the disruption exactly, but we can be most certain that that will happen anyway. So, what will be the essence of a future autonomy? And I'm here not, this is not representing only the way of thinking from a defense perspective, but it's more general. So will AI, artificial intelligence, be just another tool in the hands of humans? Will it be enhancement of humans, or will it be a separate entity? That's a question which I think that none of us in this audience, and this is very smart and very smart audience, I think still none of us can actually answer, because it comes back to, or goes back to the previous slide, that only we can do the educated guesses. So my educated guess is that in the coming years we see that this is just another tool. But what defines the ambition of humanity? Maybe it's selfish, but I think that it defines that humans want to be better. We want to be smarter. We want to have better results. We are ambitious beings. And one very smart man, Ray Kurzweil, has said something like that. So that indicates that eventually we are going to see that we are using AI to enhance our capabilities, to enhance our way how we understand the world, and to enhance how we actually make the decisions. So what we can talk about is AI-enhanced human presence, and most importantly, human control. So in that sense, still the human is the one who is sitting behind the wheel and making the decisions. Another very important aspect mentioned by the same guy, Ray Kurzweil, is that it's our sole responsibility to produce something smarter than we are. Okay, the last part, any problems beyond that are not ours to solve. It's not saying that we don't care what comes after us, but it's more that the next generation are much smarter to make the next decisions. We shouldn't make the decisions for the next generations. And moving on with a quote from my very dear and good colleague Mart Noorma, that we should try to give the world to the next generation in a better order than we received it. So combine that, we should be open to the opportunities which autonomy and AI developments are giving, and we shouldn't be so much afraid that we are creating something which we can't control. We should keep it in mind, but we shouldn't stop the innovation, and we shouldn't stop the development due to the fact that we don't exactly know what comes ahead of us. We never know. And moving back to the defense, it's clear that in order to protect our beliefs and values, we have to have the tools matching and overcoming our potential adversaries. So here in this audience, I believe, all represent the values which are common in Europe and in Northern America, in, so to say, Western culture room. There are certainly countries and places in the world which don't share these values. Do they ban the development of the autonomy as well? Or they move forward and they overcome us or overmatch us from the technology point of view? We don't know. But for sure we can't afford that, because if we are weaker, then we can't protect the value system we believe in. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Should we take a few questions from the audience? Maybe someone has a lady down here. We'll grab a microphone over there to her.
Thank you. Yes, you mentioned ethics, which is, it's good to know that these things are being developed with ethics in mind. I wonder, it seems like a lot of this is being developed in order to save human life as well. My question is, when these are actually deployed and they're out in battle, especially the very strong battles, do you think it will spare human life because it's taking some of that cognitive load away and allowing people to make decisions not out of fear, because they're not the ones that are going to get hurt if they fire? Do you think that they will be able to make better decisions in that way? Or do you think that because they're being taken one step back from the actual killing, that it will make it easier for them to just not pay attention to what casualties happen?
I think that the answer to that question, and this is a very good question, is not in the defense, but it's more in our value system in the society. I want to believe that our warfighters are ethical humans, and they don't want to take anybody's life unless it's necessary. So I believe that the advantage of getting the operators out of the harm's way is, first of all, they are in safe, and secondly, they have more information and more time to make the decisions, because I trust their decision. I believe that they are people among us. They are not some strange guys from nowhere, but they are people among us, and they share our understanding of the ethics, and they share our value system.
Is there a psychological team working alongside the development team?
Not exactly, not specifically in the Milrem, but where we are very much engaged as well is the ethics. The actual ethics of deployment of these kind of systems, and how and which kind of control still has to be at the human's hands. So we pay attention to that a lot.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have a question for Kuldar? You get this big spotlight put on you. It's like an interrogation or something like that. All right, one more gentleman down here. Thank you, sir.
Hi. I have a question about the cognitive load decrease and how you would think about handling the context awareness. So say somebody sits on the other side of the screen, and how do they become context aware of what is going on around them when they have some limited inputs and maybe they just got into this shift from some other place in the world?
Well, first of all, there are very strict rules in militaries. So everybody who sits behind this particular screen will be certainly very well informed and briefed. Secondly, what gives the situational awareness and what concerns the situational awareness and understanding of the surroundings, when I believe that the sensors can provide much more data and much more information than a pair of eyes and pair of ears. So in that sense, the operator who sits behind the screen is much more informed than the soldier on the actual battlefield.
Okay, so it's a little bit compensated by having extra data can be fed in, so that might balance it out. But so?
Yeah, follow-up then. What makes you think that the human would be then better at making the decision than anything that's in the loop completely and has, like, let's say, some big trained data set on these, on the sensor data? How can you think, or why do you think that a human is better at doing it than a machine?
First of all, maybe this is my problem, but I trust humans more than machines. But I think that's the problem of our generation. But secondly, I'd say that it's not the question who makes better decisions, but it's the ethical approach that these decisions and some decisions will always be made by humans.
Thank you.
Sure. Again, coming back to that training, a military officer goes through years of training potentially, and to be able to make that decision, that ethics, that contextual awareness, that I'm not sure how can we make a machine follow those orders and make, because as a subordinate you want them to follow orders to an extent. I mean, there is some level of somewhere that subordinate has to maybe not question, but at least say, hey boss, I don't really understand what's going on. Can you explain some nuance that maybe you didn't explain to me? And maybe that's the human factor, that the humans could think, okay, what are the extra questions I need to ask of my boss to be able to implement the order, where maybe a machine doesn't do that.
Exactly. We should not rule out the human factor, and we don't want to rule out the human factor, because this is an important part of that as well.
Cool. All right, anybody else? Very good. All right. Thank you very much, Kuldar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.